Hey guys, heading over to Patrick's place to recommence our US Civil War campaign. Things are a little bit dangerous for me at the moment. I've lost control of the Mississippi River, which has really created a pretty poor situation that may not be recoverable, so we'll see how we go. So it's a Saturday afternoon and sun's setting soon, and it will be over at Patrick's in about 20 minutes, and then we'll give you a better update. Okay, so we're back at the start of turn 10. We've just reset the game and we're going to give a quick overview of the situation before we each talk briefly about our strategies. So in the east, what's happening there, Patrick?
Okay, so the main sort of points of conflict are over here near Fredericksburg, where we've got Longstreet facing off against Hooker. A huge disparity in forces, with Hooker holding 13 and Longstreet only 7. Still got Banks here surrounded by Lee and Beauregard and Stewart. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops.
They're all just very weak forces with 1 SP each.
We have Sigel and Pemberton sort of facing off against each other around Wilmington, with Sigel with 4 and Pemberton with 2. And then some more Union invasions of the coast around here. Then moving off to the west, so up here by Louisiana, we have, Taylor up against McPherson. McPherson has 5, Taylor has 4 from memory. 5 each.
So they're squaring off.
McPherson is under a fort and is blocking the path through to New Orleans. The Mississippi River is now Union controlled right through, and then we just have a bunch of forces just up all along the Mississippi, with sort of Confederate forces at each turn facing off against each other. So over here with Vicksburg near Jackson. We've got Burnside versus Hardee. I think they're all roughly equivalent, like 4, what's this, 3. The strongest Union forces over here, Grant with 7. And there's not actually that much around him. We've got Morgan, sorry.
Carry on.
We've got Morgan, who's been a real pain in the Union rear lines, who's sort of been trapped in the northern Mississippi area. And then over here in Tennessee, again roughly equivalent forces. We've got McClernand with a force of 2 and Sherman with a force of 5. And over here facing off against Sherman, we've got Jackson with a force of 4 and Bragg's being the strongest general with 4. And Polk, I think, is weak. 6. There's a strong force over here in Decatur. And then over in Trans-Mississippi, the main forces are Blunt with a force of 3, who's just entrenched near Arkansas Post, and then Price over here in Little Rock with 5. There's been an invasion of Texas there by Galveston, which has forced the Confederates to send some reinforcements just to stop us from destroying arsenals and walking up. And then we've got some small sort of Union forces coming out here from in the north, from Missouri, looking to head south.
And the score-wise?
So the Union is on 25 VP, and the Confederates down to obviously 75 resource points. Their blockade runners have been reduced significantly, and their maintenance is up to 12. And the benchmark for this turn is 27.
So you're pretty much on track. We'll be at the end of the turn. So we're going to quickly talk about our individual strategies while one of us leaves the room, and then we'll plough on.
So this is Patrick here, where I'm just going to, in David's absence, talk about what I plan to do over in this session, depending on how far we get. Instead of talking about specific geographical areas, which I might mention, just the overall strategy, the fact that I've been able to go down to the Mississippi and take a whole heap of resource points reduces the pressure on the Union to move forward and to meet that schedule. which if they don't meet will cause them trouble. Which means that now I think what I need to do is focus on force reduction, holding the gains I have, maybe even potentially falling behind on the benchmark, and taking advantage of the disparity of force to destroy his forces wherever I can. What I'm hoping is that there'll be a snowball effect, because he's the number of reinforcements he's getting is now significantly less than what I'm getting. I'm getting 14 a turn. I think he's getting 8 or 9. If on top of that he's losing more than I'm losing, we should see the Confederates collapse. So over here, where I've got the best chance of doing that is over here in the east, because there's a huge disparity in forces. I think the west I'll probably only look to see where I can maybe just nab some points, and I'll continue my amphibious strategy, because there seem to be easy points where I can just land on the coast. So David's re-entered the room, so the Union strategists have to watch for spies. So I'll leave it at that, and it'll be off to David to discuss his strategy.
Okay, while the Union emissaries leave the room, I'll tell you what I plan to do. Okay, so Patrick's left the room, and I have no bloody idea what I'm doing. Frankly, I'm in a lot of trouble along the Mississippi. Being pretty new to the game, it was clear I didn't fortify it enough, and when Memphis fell, it just basically split the Confederacy open up wide. And I'm just not sure if the position is recoverable at all. So I've got some forces here which I'll probably try and regroup around Tennessee, and I think I'll just have to make a foray into the Mississippi somewhere and try and retake one of these locations, or maybe build another fort or something along there. But it's certainly very much about concentrating my forces and just seeing if I can take any action that's going to be decisive somewhere. Spread out like I am, I think pretty weak at the moment. In Little Rock, I slightly outnumber the Union guys at Arkansas Post, but and I'll take them on, but even that's going to be tough because they're entrenched and they're pretty strong. And over in the east, so Fredericksburg's under threat. I'm hoping to maybe take out this force here and use these forces to create some issues in the Union rear there up towards Harper's Ferry, maybe to distract them and draw some action points away from over here. Really it's trying to plug the gaps, and it may be a little too late to do so, but we'll give it a good turn. So reconcentrate my forces in the west, try and find somewhere to strike that's going to give me a bit of an advantage. If I can hold out in Fredericksburg, try and get in the Union rear to stir things up. Otherwise, it's just plough on. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, situation report at the end of turn 10, beginning of turn 11, and quite a bit has happened. Points wise, Union has forged ahead, and they're on 33 victory points, and at the end of turn 10 it's 27 is what they're aiming for as the benchmark, so they're 6 ahead there. And my BPs have been shattered. I'm down to 67 BPs. I'm not sure how an army can survive with that. So do you want to give us a quick rundown of what happened, Patrick?
Yeah, sure. So over here in the east, there was a significant battle right at the start, with Hooker failing to defeat the smaller force, and that kind of left the Union a bit powerless over there. But the Confederates later on did an attack against the stronger force. I think possibly that might have been a mistake, because it led to more losses on their side without any significant gains.
The reason I did that, just out of interest, was I really wanted to try and distract him from what was happening out west, and it was a gamble, but I needed to sort of threaten Washington or something to sort of draw his action points away. It didn't work then, that carried on.
The other big action in the east is over here with Zygel defeating, whose force was it? I can't remember the name of the general. Pemberton, yeah. In a very successful battle, and is now promenading his way through North Carolina, liberating the downtrodden Confederate masses. So that's the east. Over here in the west, Jackson and Polk's forces combined and forced Sherman to sort of withdraw. He almost got trapped, but I think he withdrew just in time, back up to Nashville. They took all the Union-controlled towns that Sherman had spent time taking control of, and made what should have been a successful attack against Nashville, but the Union got quite lucky there and managed to hold on. Over here near Memphis, Grant has come inland, away from the Memphis River, and is just pushing Confederate forces away. Bragg is over here with a reasonably large force, but given Union control of the Tennessee River, it's hard for him to immediately come to the rescue of that area. We had the little amphibious assault over here with Union forces and took a significant town of Mobile. And then over here in Trans-Mississippi, an early attack by Price against fortified Union positions in Arkansas Post failed at a cost, and that allowed Curtis with a forced march to come down and capture Little Rock, while Greason's cavalry is recapturing the objectives that had been previously held by the Union. So overall, it started off a bit rough for the Union, but it's been probably as good as they could have expected. Maybe they could have hoped for a bit more in the east, but other than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I think this round goes to the Union, definitely. I did manage to eliminate that surrounded two-strength unit that was there at the beginning of the turn.
Thanks, yeah.
And I think I was unlucky not to take Nashville. That would have sort of given me a bit of a strong push up the centre there, but as it was, we both took equal losses, which I can't afford. And I had a crack at getting him out of Arkansas Post so that I could free up the Trans-Mississippi, but again, wasn't to be. So didn't feel like the dice were rolling in my favour that much that turn. But anyway, that's the situation, and we're heading into the start of turn 11. Okay, update at the end of turn 11, start of turn 12, 1863, and Patrick avoided a automatic victory. He's on by 1. He's on 41, and he required 42, so he just missed out on an auto victory, and which translates to a pretty bad situation for the Confederates. You want to give a rundown, Patrick?
Yeah, so the disaster for the Confederates happened out here in the east. Meade had built up a huge force. The Union just poured all their reinforcements and built an 18-strength army, and the lack of Confederate reinforcements and rail meant that I think they had a force of about 4. Yeah, so Lee was on 4, so Meade was just able to stomp on down, and Richmond had virtually no defence and took out the 3 arsenals and the 4 resource points, which just is a pretty devastating blow for the Confederates. They tried to make some manoeuvres out here, but nothing really significant happened after Richmond fell. Over here in the west, Sherman and Polk just continued to face off, and Polk made a nudge at Nashville, but failed to make any traction. And then, interestingly, what happened over here ended up affecting what happened over here in Mississippi, because the Confederacy, being on the verge of disaster, had to break up Hardee's force just to ensure that they held on to Vicksburg, which they recaptured, and Natchez, just to avoid the auto loss. And so they had this strong force with Hardee there that was coming down towards New Orleans, threatening even to take it back, and they just had to split it up to garrison the important Mississippi towns they took back. I think that pretty much covers everything.
So you can pretty much see the Confederate line running around from the southern end here, up now along the Mississippi and into Tennessee. It's quite a distinctive line there, but yeah, it's all been lost over here in the east. Just the loss of BPs and arsenals has just crushed me. And so we're going to roll now for our we'll check the reinforcements. This may be a time for the Confederates to sue for peace, so we'll just see what it's going to turn out in way of reinforcements for myself, because the blockades are pretty low. North Atlantic is down to 0 on the status track, so I'm not going to get too many. So it's heading for a Union victory very, very shortly. We'll just see what the reinforcements hold for me, and we'll make a decision shortly. Okay, so we've worked out the Confederate reinforcements, and I will get 8. And clearly that's not going to be enough for me to survive for any length of time at all. So the Confederates are going to sue for peace and congratulate Patrick on a sound win. So we were just discussing the fact that Patrick can easily grab BPs now, just pretty much at will in the east, because I'm so outnumbered and I can't get reinforcements there. So it's very much a forlorn hope. So what do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, just like you're saying, as well as that, I pretty much in any theatre or in any particular area of operations, I can reinforce and get a huge strength advantage over you. So, you know, I'd probably next try to reinforce Sherman so that Polk has to retreat. I could probably outnumber you. I could probably send nothing to the east and just send everything to the west or to the Mississippi and just start defeating your forces there. And then as those unequal losses mount, combined with the unequal reinforcements, it's just a snowball effect. So in that sense, the game does punish the losing side substantially. You probably have to not be too far behind, at least for the Confederates, in order to stay in the game. I have a fair chance of staying in the game.
There's no doubt in my mind that me not having backup forts on the Mississippi was the turning point of the game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Before then, it was even, if not, maybe even slightly to the Confederate advantage. Yeah, that was the turning point, absolutely.
So
and then the dagger in the kidneys was Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't, and I fall on my sword here, I didn't build enough forts and upgrade forts.
Do you think you could have sent more reinforcements to the east at the expense of... Because it felt like you sent a lot of... You were actually checking me in the west to a certain extent, but I think that was at the cost of not sending more troops to the east, and in which case... And that kind of led to the fall of Richmond. Because I didn't think the game was totally lost when you lost Memphis. I thought you could have still potentially brought it back.
But the problem was all these amphibious landings on the coast just seemed to sort of draw my... I have to have some presence down there. So it was like, where were my forces going to come from to go to the east? I felt like I needed them everywhere. So I'm not sure. It's without doubt, the lack of forts really was a mistake, because if I had forts, I could have left some small garrisons in each of them, and probably diverted forces to more important points.
If we play this again, would you choose the Confederacy again, or would you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'd play the Confederates again. I would get forts built along the Mississippi early, and probably strengthen my forts in the east as well. I think that's my major failings at this point. But yeah, overall, I think it actually replicated the Civil War quite well. I thought it really felt like it. Not that I'm an expert on the subject, but it really felt like I was refighting that conflict. I got high praise for this game, very high praise.
Yeah, same here.
Yep. And so next week, next Friday, we are playing the Guns of Gettysburg, and I suspect this will hit the table again shortly after that.
Excellent.
Very good.
Look forward to
Okay.
it.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and stay tuned.